All right, week 9 in the books. Unfortunately, college football season continues to just absolutely fly by, but we're glad you're joining us on the Sunday. Going to talk about what was a crazy day yesterday. There was some upsets. We were wondering, would there be that big dog that gets taken out this week? There was one at least, and a couple that got very scared, including one team in Southern Cal that really at the end of the day, outside of a big fourth quarter comeback, should have went down. Washington honestly should have went down to Stanford too if Stanford could catch, but that's neither here nor there. Just Colorado in the second half and then a little bit against Washington yesterday. I'm going to bring in co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. And guys, I want to jump right in. There's a ton to go over yesterday. I want to remember, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you ask your question in the chat, we're going to get to it. If you donate, we'll get to it even quicker. One of the best ways to be able to help the show is go grab some merch. We'll drop the link in the description so you can go check it out. We're almost all sold out. We want to be able to put our new stuff in next week. We got some great ideas, some brand new stuff, some brand new clothes, hoodies, and things like that we're excited about. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, starting with Georgia and Florida, David Cohn, what'd you think about the weekend?
Another great weekend of college football, boys. I think everyone was excited to see how will this Georgia team with a young quarterback go on the road in a neutral site rivalry game and play without their best player, and man, did they really show up. And then I was also interested to see, this Texas team very much in the college football playoff hunt without Quinn Ewers. How can Malik Murphy play against a BYU team that has entered the Big 12 and punched above their weight, had a 5-2 record entering yesterday, and they rolled as well. So those were a couple things I was looking at. You throw in the upset with Kansas beating Oklahoma. Now things are getting a lot more interesting if that's a potential Oklahoma-Texas rematch for the conference out there.
Without a doubt. Blaine, what'd you see?
I saw it's Georgia till it's not. All right, it's Georgia till it's not. They're not as good, but damn it, they're pretty good. Michigan's the closest one to them. Other than that, I'm not surprised by anything. Is anybody surprised by this Georgia game?
No, I had Georgia to win. I thought Florida would be able to cover. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. I do want to say this. Carson Beck, we got asked during by an audience member last week, at what point does Carson Beck, do we really start putting his name into the Heisman conversation? And while he shouldn't be at the top of the list, right, you still got Penix there. Washington's undefeated. Bo Nix, huge win over Utah yesterday that we all thought was coming. You look at Jaden Daniels at LSU. We're going to know a lot more after this week when they go take on Bama. And then we see, obviously, what Florida State and Jordan Travis is doing. Quinn Ewers is hurt. But at some point, we have to really start putting Carson Beck in that conversation. 19 of 28 yesterday, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I do want to say Graham Mertz, even though he played second fiddle, it was a pretty damn good fiddle. He went 25 of 34, had 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. It wasn't like he cost them the game. But Georgia looked about as complete as I have seen them all year. Ladd McConkey, we talk about him being the security blanket for Brock Bowers, who's now out. Got 6 catches, 135 yards and a touchdown. Looked really healthy. Dominic Lovett, 4 catches, 83 yards. Saw him emerge a little bit. Oscar Delp made a big-time play. You can see some of the young guys in important spots. So Georgia, I thought at the end, they scored double digits in every quarter except the fourth when the game was pretty much over. I thought they looked about as balanced as I've seen them all year, David. And when you look at Carson Beck, with the time he has to throw the ball, now with this running game with Kendall Milton being healthy, we see what Edwards is. We know about Dylan Bell. I mean, heck, they got a white guy named Cash who runs the ball pretty effectively.
Feel good about it.
Team, woo! You got to feel about as good as you could after losing Brock Bowers, right?
Feel good about it when guys named Cash are out there making plays on the football field. The key word you said there was balance, because like I said with David Green this past weekend, usually, even when your best player is a tight end and he goes out, at Georgia, that run game is what's been dominant, at least since I've been following Georgia football for the last couple decades. Haven't seen that so much this year. So the fact they were able to rush for 171 against this Florida team, I thought was, a big statement. And like you said, Oscar Delp with that play, that one-handed catch down the sideline. I wasn't fully convinced that Brock Bowers wasn't playing in the football game. And then, like we had talked about, for the last 2 weeks, Ladd McConkey getting healthy. It shouldn't be surprising at all that the kid had 6 receptions for 135 and a touchdown, averaging 22.5 per reception. Like, this is what we've come to know from Ladd McConkey when he's healthy. So he's getting healthy at the perfect time, and Georgia is doing what they've done the past couple seasons, which every championship team needs to do, which is improve from week to week. I don't care how good you are at the beginning of the season. I don't care if you're the world beater or the dream team, whatever. If you stay the same throughout a season, you're just not going to win championships because you're not peaking at the right time. We talk about this a lot when it comes to college basketball. We talk about this when it comes to Major League Baseball entering the playoffs and the World Series. College football is no different, and Georgia and Kirby Smart figure out this way to sort of peak at the right times, and this is a huge statement over a rival. I'll keep saying that. Like, the fact that Florida couldn't find a way to keep this closer, and they struck first. Talk about Graham Mertz playing a good game. I mean, Eugene Wilson, man, that kid is a playmaker. Him and Pearsall together, that slant route that he scored on the first one was slant route teach tape. They struck first, and still Georgia just smothered them.
Well, Blaine, it goes to show you. I mean, Georgia, again, that they're learning while winning. They're developing while winning, and rarely do we see that happen. I do want to make this point too. If you're a Georgia fan, there's always small things and in reality, they're not small things, but to fans in general, they're small things. You got the Peyton Woodring kid, who's a young field goal kicker. We know he struggled earlier in the year. He goes 2 for 2. I know the long was only 32, but he was 5 for 5 on extra points. Then Brett Thorson, 3 punts yesterday, 3 balls down to inside the 20. You want to be able to win. You want to be able to win tight games when maybe the offense isn't balling out, or you want to have that extra edge. Special teams, I don't think we talk about it enough with these elite teams going out there and handling business. Florida was pretty clean in special teams as well. Did have, a 23-yard return by ETN in the punt return game. You really had nothing. Georgia had 2 for 11. But playing clean in the special teams, making the routine plays routine, that could be the difference when you go up against a Michigan in the playoff, when you go up against maybe an Ohio State in the playoff or a Florida State, those games that come down to inches. So I want to make sure we get that note out there as well.
Well, you look at this game, one thing I say about this Georgia team is they know how to punch back, and the moment's never too big. I mean, Florida comes out in the first drive, boom, 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 great play calling by Billy. You can tell it's scripted. And they have Florida has a bunch of NFL kids running outside a receiver. I mean, the depth there is ridiculous. But you look at this, and what's been kind of been the knock on Georgia this year, I mean, the running game hadn't been the same. I mean, you're getting healthy with Milton. You get Mims back up front. They started to establish the line of scrimmage, and they did it early, and you kind of switch out to the other side of the ball. Georgia's defense up front, their front seven, is starting to come along. And think about all the new faces this team has right now. A lot of first time they've seen this game, the cocktail party versus Florida. The moment was never too big. And look, if Stetson Bennett can make it to New York, then Carson Beck right now, because I think he just broke a record for SEC quarterbacks, like 7 weeks, 250-plus yards passing. I mean, the kid looks nice. Obviously, he's great up front, the offensive line they have. But I don't know how you can't look at this Georgia team right now. Even without Brock Bowers, you look around the nation and say they're not the best team in college football.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you put them in Michigan up there, and we want to know what you think, obviously, in the comments as well. Going to stick in the SEC. I'm trying to go conference by conference, if that's cool with you all. I think it'll make it a little bit cleaner. Tennessee and Kentucky. Fellas, we all, I believe, picked Tennessee to win this game. Did not have Devin Leary throwing for 372 and 2 touchdowns on 39 attempts. Look, Kentucky and Devin Leary is a big name that came over from NC State. We all remember talking about in the offseason with him, and then Brennan Armstrong going to NC State, who, by the way, had a huge win over Clemson, if that's considered a huge win anymore this year. But Ray Davis in this Kentucky game, only 42 yards on 16 carries, did have the touchdown. It was Devin Leary through the air that kept the Cats in it. Joe Milton on the other side, pretty efficient, man. I mean, 18 to 21, 228, a touchdown, not asking him to do too much. But it was Jalen Wright, 11 carries, 120 yards and a tud. Dylan Sampson, 17 carries, 75 yards and a touchdown. Just very ho-hum. Tennessee was able to not only get into the red zone, but get touchdowns when they got into the red zone. I thought it was an overall efficient game, and Tennessee was able to hang on when they needed to. So right now, looking at it, David, you look at this game, we knew it was probably going to be tight. Tennessee to those 2 conference losses. This was a must win if you want to have any chance to stay in the hunt in the East, especially with Georgia beating Florida now. Kentucky drops to 2-3 in the conference. A big one for Tennessee. They needed it.
I felt good about Tennessee in this game, even with the spread and the points. But man, Kentucky sure put up a fight. Like you said, I didn't see Devin Leary throwing for 372 yards and 2 TDs, but that was the Devin Leary we thought that Kentucky could get when he came over from NC State. A couple other things on the stat line, 24 first downs for each of these teams, 6 for 13 on third down for Tennessee, but Kentucky went 5 of 11. All right, they had 444 yards of total offense, like we said, 372 through the air. Still rushed for 72, had half the amount of penalties that Tennessee had, no turnovers, and Kentucky won the time of possession. So they did everything they needed to do. Go back and look at a couple of those decisions, going for it instead of punting the ball in minus territory, not kicking the field goal when you're in Tennessee territory. I wonder if some of those decisions down the stretch, if Coach Stoops would like to have those back. But again, Kentucky, they're back-to-back losses. You're fighting for your life in the East, against a Tennessee team that, is fighting for the same thing. Sometimes you have to make those decisions. But, a great showing by Kentucky, but Tennessee did what they needed to do to go on the road, win a big football game, stay in the hunt in the East. And if you're a Tennessee fan right now, you really have to be feeling good about the way Joe Milton is coming on, throwing the intermediate ball better, throwing the deep ball a lot better than we have seen before, using his legs and the quarterback design run and in the scramble game. So, they're going to get their shot against the big dog. We just talked about Georgia. We still get that game down the stretch here, Tennessee versus Georgia. So let's see if Tennessee can really put up a fight in the East.
Yeah, I mean, Blaine, you look at balance. We talk about it all the time. I mean, this is the best way. And offensively, look, Tennessee doesn't want to give up 27 points on defense. I think they're a good enough defense where that standard shouldn't be crazy, or that shouldn't be some crazy thought, or, hey, we don't have to play extremely well just to be able to give up 24 points. We know how talented they are, especially in that front seven. But offensively, I don't know if you could have a better situation unfold, or a more comfortable situation unfold for Joe Milton. The less you put it in harm's way, the less margin, or the lesser the margin is, that Joe Milton can screw it up, right? If you're putting the ball in the air 21 times, and it's the way they're doing it, right? Spitting it out in the now screen. You're not having to sit here and make dangerous and crazy throws. And that's why every now and again in a game like we saw against Bama last week, you feel more comfortable taking that shot because you have the run game working. You have the quick game working. You have the intermediate game working, and you're not putting it all on Joe Milton's arm. That was just a very efficient, very balanced, we can call whatever, whenever they stayed ahead of the chains. That was like the perfect offensive scenario, I think, for this year's Tennessee team.
Well, I mean, if you're a quarterback, what's your best friend? I mean, that's the run game. That's what Tennessee has. There's two things. One, from a system standpoint, if you're a quarterback, I would love to play for Josh Heupel. I would love it. Just it's all numbers, and it's so easy. It's either a spit out, we're counting the box, or we take a shot deep when one-on-one coverage. But if you're a Kentucky fan, man, this hurts. This hurts to me. You played your best game all year. And Devin Leary played his best game all year. And I know Ray Davis only had 42 yards, but I thought he caught the ball well out of the backfield. The screen game was there. Devin Leary did a good job of checking it down. Devin Leary was on time. Your offensive line played well. But at this point, you're playing dream wrecker. I mean, you got Kentucky in a couple weeks. I mean, you got Alabama in a couple weeks if you're Kentucky. You got Mississippi State this week. But I can tell Joe Milton's getting comfortable, not by throwing. All right. I can tell Joe Milton's starting to get comfortable by the way he's running the football. All right. Joe Milton's starting to run the ball like he's pissed off, running the ball downhill, running through kids, using his size. And that translates to the passing game. It really does. That confidence lives in both worlds. So if you're Tennessee right now, you have to feel good about a lot of things. Joe Milton's last 2 games were his best games, and you're going to need that with your schedule coming up.
Yeah. Good. I don't know if you're going to hear that. I swear there's like a pterodactyl outside my window.
I'd like to see that, actually.
I don't know if you can literally.
I'd kind of like to take a picture of that.
I'm legitimately worried that I'm going to be looking at
a pterodactyl, Jake.
It's going to be the crustaceous.
Is it Friday already?
Yeah. It's like it's going to be the crustaceous period when I walk outside to go get my mail this morning. No, hopefully that goes away. It just honestly scared me to death. It's either that or Dracula. But I do want to get to the chat real quick before we keep going through the SEC. And I have to Indiana Jones fight this bird outside.
Let's go to Brother Ben. Hello, brother. Says USC is really trash, and I'm super disappointed with my Beavers, guys. Nothing like being disappointed in your Beaver.
No, that's tough. Look, I'm not going to sit here and do the USC thing because I feel like I do it every season. I do it every week. I do it in the off season. And unless Alex Grinch moves on, are there some sort of change? This is you. This is Lincoln and Alex, right? It's Lincoln and Alex. It sounds like
I got
a
a question.
sitcom.
Can I ask
like
you a question,
it's an
Coach?
intro for a sitcom. We saw at Oklahoma. We
But
saw it at
49 to Cal.
How did your defense get worse?
Yeah,
No.
How did
No,
your
Blaine,
defense get worse?
Blaine, remember, we said this all off season. All everybody said was, oh, well, that's just the way it was at Oklahoma. Now at USC, it's going to be totally different because they're going to keep all those Cali defensive guys in state. And I'm not saying guys in California can't play football. That's not what I'm saying. If I've recruited the state, I know they can. This is who Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch are. Like this is us. This is you.
But at least
and it's
last
not
year
gonna
they still won 11 games and played in the conference championship. Like I was under the impression that USC's defense was subpar by elite championship standards. Now they're subpar just by regular standards. That part of it is a new thing to me.
They're bad.
David.
They're bad.
49 points to Cal.
They're
They were
bad.
ranked 94th in the country in defense last year.
I took them as a lock.
It hasn't just been bad. It's been egregious at times. Again, this isn't you know what? There's been a lot of teams that have won a lot of games by being elite on one side of the ball consistently and just average on the other one. Just average, not above average, not a little bit on top of mediocre, average. Lincoln Riley and Oklahoma and Alex Grinch, Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, and USC are not one of those teams. They are unbelievably elite on one side of the ball and really bad on the other. So bad that it's detrimental to them being able to win a championship. And it's why I've said, and why I will continue to say, Lincoln Riley will never win a national championship as a college football head coach, at least as long as he has Alex Grinch around. Because at some point, I'm watching some of these cats you got running around on this field. Last year, okay, at USC, you're getting the personnel right. I watched Brent Venables in Oklahoma give up more explosives than we did in Afghanistan when we left, all right? And they flipped that roster around pretty quick. This year, we see the jump with Oklahoma, right? And I know this isn't the greatest week to use it after they just lost to Kansas, but if you can't tell the difference between Oklahoma's defense right now, just from the pure coaching from this year to last year, then I can't help you. But at USC with Alex Grinch and Lincoln Riley, it doesn't matter who comes in the portal. It doesn't matter who they recruit. It doesn't matter if they're in the Midwest or the West Coast. It doesn't work, Blaine. It doesn't work. And it will. And guess what, David? They'll win 10 games this year.
But you're talking about not winning championships, which I think everybody can get on board with. I can't remember the last time Lincoln Riley didn't win 10 games at least. If we saw this the first year he came to USC, it would make a little more sense. They still won 11 last year. And to Blaine's point, somehow you got worse now on defense with the Heisman Trophy winner returning.
They can still win 10.
Guys,
I get it, but they can still win 10.
Everyone gassed up all these transfer portal guys like that to come here and make a difference. I'm telling you, if you put USC in a lot of these conferences, it'd be a lot worse. The more I watch the Pac-12, the more I think they're becoming mid. The more I watch the Big Ten, the more I think they're becoming mid. Right now, if I had to go toe-to-toe with a lot of people on conferences, I probably think the SEC is the best conference in football.
I'm still going to stick with the Pac-12. I think the depth. I think it's more of a compliment that you see Cal hanging in with USC. I think it's more of a compliment that you see Arizona beat Oregon State, which, by the way, is there a team that's hotter than Arizona right now? That'd be the last time I'd want to play.
This is one of my dog picks.
I know we'll get to it, but what else we got in the chat?
Hold on, I do want to ask you guys though because we were talking about USC Cal. That game was delayed at the beginning due to the protest on the field, and I wanted to ask: have you seen a more that was the most California thing I'd ever seen until USC and Cal played a 50-49 game against each other, of course.
Well, look, I would just love to see them attempt to do that at an SEC game.
Bring that to Bryant Denny.
Sanford Stadium. Just the thought of that. You want to talk about people not caring about whatever you thought of it? You will hurt your movement for 1,000 years.
You won't make it in the stadium.
No, you won't make it in the stadium.
You won't make it in the stadium.
You legitimately won't.
Why is nobody protesting the defense? Can we get a protest on that?
Are we sure that's not what they were protesting?
If they
Who
were
knows?
doing that,
It may
I
have
get it.
been. And
If
you
they're
know
doing
what?
that,
You know what?
I get
I'm
it.
here for that.
Look,
I'm here for
I
that.
tweeted this. I'll let him kick off. Let's see who really cares.
Let's see who cares.
Let's see who's really about the movement.
Talking about Kyle players. Let's get Marshawn Lynch out there with the golf cart again and really clear some space.
Let's find out if Susie really wants to take one to the grill.
Yeah, how pissed are you about plastic being in the ocean? We're about to find out. Here we go. Everybody ready on both sides?
Let's go to Tyler Jarvis with the $5 donation. T-Jar, appreciate it, brother. It was a Mott Stick Stacy ugly win, but my Canes got it done. Somebody come fix TVD. 8 interceptions in the last 3 games. Gross.
Yeah, look, sometimes you just got to survive. You can ask North Carolina that for the second straight week, and now you can definitely ask Oklahoma that. But Miami, now all of a sudden, I don't want to jump the horse too much. We're going to get to the ACC, jump the shark, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't really want to jump the horse either. That's what my wife does for a living, and believe me, she can have that. She's a lot better at it than me. But no, look, Miami, and now all of a sudden, Duke's got 2 losses. North Carolina's got 2 losses. What they needed to start happening is happening around them a little bit now. Does North Carolina play Louisville? Or does Miami play Louisville?
Scanning.
I need to look that up. I'll check that out because that
North Carolina right now. North Carolina does not play Louisville.
Louisville goes to Miami on November 18th.
North Carolina has Duke, Clemson, NC State left.
I got to see these ACC standings.
Louisville has Virginia Tech, Virginia at Miami, and then Kentucky at home. Man, Louisville's just a good football team, man.
They are good. They are a good
football team. On the Miami point, though, I'll say this: back-to-back weeks, we saw Mario Cristobal not make a run late in the game in the fourth quarter to try and win the game. Elected to go to overtime. I was surprised in both cases. In both scenarios, it worked out though. Got away with it in OT.
How about this? Florida State in the ACC 6-0. Louisville 4-1. Virginia Tech 3-1. Georgia Tech 3-2. How about that? Your top 4 teams right now in the ACC: FSU, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. Clemson's
Clemson's a bad football team.
Yeah, they're just a bad football team. They're now sitting at 2-4. Woo. Interesting. Pitt, right there where I thought. Right there. Did you see what Narduzzi said about that the players were getting all upset on social media about? So apparently Narduzzi said that we had some really good players last year and thought we replaced them with really good players, and we didn't.
Great. That's a great recipe for.
It's your fault. You recruited them, buddy.
That's my whole point. That's like when fans are like, oh, well, he's not really that great of a coach. They had some really great players on that team. Well, he still gets credit for that. Like, he brought the players in. It's like some people separate the two. Like, the coach had nothing to do with the players.
Rich Rodriguez came in. Rich Rod came into Michigan and said, "Man, the cupboard's awfully bare here. We were on a 36-year bowl streak before you snapped it."
Yeah, and then he went to Jack State and he was like, "Cupboard's not bare here. Let's go win 8." Let's go win 8. All right, one more in the chat line. We'll move on.
Let's go to Steven Tyler. What's up, Steve? He says Lincoln Riley is a younger version of Jimbo Fisher. Good recruiter, bad coach. Yeah, I remember Jimbo's got him one.
He got him a natty.
Jimbo does. Yeah, Jimbo does have a natty. I think Lincoln's better schematically. I think Lincoln's better schematically than Jimbo, and I feel like Jimbo's more of the. And look, Jimbo called the plays. We all know about that. I would take Lincoln Riley calling my plays over Jimbo Fisher, both in their prime. But I can see a little bit of a connection there. But speaking about connections. Peyton Thorne, 20-26.
That's his best game, boys.
For 230 yards, Blaine, and 3 touchdowns. I can't believe it.
Congrats.
New world record. Jarquez Hunter.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's Jarquez Hunter.
Yay, we did it, guys.
Hey, will you take a win?
We did it, guys.
Will you take a victory?
Hooray! It was so funny. It was literally, you're playing, like, if you're an Auburn fan, you need to realize that was Auburn versus Robbie Ashford. All right? You played against, that's what it would look like if you played against Robbie Ashford for 4 quarters. All right? And we won that game. Look, Peyton Thorne look good. Congrats. I mean, congrats on actually playing a good football game. I can't wait not to see you play next year.
Hey, this is why it was big. Some dude bet me, and this is on social. Bet me $500, and I want to say he is a man of his word. He Venmo'd me at halftime.
No, he did not.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
before they even won the game.
With me, can we bet together?
He Venmo'd me. No, like before the season, we were talking about. We had done our like projections or something, and he had said that Auburn. He said, I will bet you that Auburn will not win a home conference game. And remember, they have Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Those are the four.
Oh, this was it.
Right. So, well, yeah. So I was like, all right, I will bet you $500. I'll accept that. Let's bet $500 on it. This is had to have it. Had to have this one. So I do want to give a shout out to him. He did pay up. But look, it was just nice to see Auburn look competent on offense. Threw the ball around. Mississippi State, we know they're outside of Arkansas. This shows you how bad Arkansas is. They've been everybody's get-right game, but I want to give a lot of credit to Hugh Freeze and the coaching staff. I mean, the defense, held Mississippi State out of the end zone until the fourth quarter when the game was already in doubt, and had the under at 41.5 instead of stopping at 40. So
I had it at 40.5. I thought
40.5.
I got it at 40.5. I guess by the time I took it in the morning, it had gone down from the 41. By the beginning of that fourth quarter, I thought for sure that thing was cooked, and it played out perfectly. Yeah, the pass interference, it was the pass interference late that kept Auburn from kicking a field goal, which I assume is what the decision would have been there after that sack on Peyton Thorne. The pass interference call, and then they kneeled it out.
Shout out Minnesota, Michigan State in the under.
Oh, big under. And that one Michigan State almost gave up 2 touchdowns late too.
Well, hey, on the locks, leans, and dogs, my locks, I went 5-1, hit both my dogs.
I did too. I did too. West Virginia and Arizona.
Yep, West Virginia. I had Coastal Carolina winning as a dog, and I had Louisiana. ULL is like home on the road at South.
Oh, against your alma mater. That's right.
Yeah. And South was like minus 11.5.
Right. My dogs, Rice plus 420, almost came back and beat Tulane. I think they lost by 2.
Rice is a sneaky good football team.
Plus the odds in Colorado plus 520.
Colorado.
Well, look, I hit every one of them except the Georgia-Florida under because Georgia just freaked out. But hey, Ohio State that's why you buy it down to minus 13.5, boys. That's why you do it.
Kyle McCord, stop it! Stop it! Stop throwing picks in the red zone, Josh Allen.
All right.
Yeah. Travion Henderson came back looking good though.
Healthy.
Yeah, he did.
Big runs late in the game there. Big win for them on the road.
Speaking about looking good, we'll end it with the SEC here. Or in the SEC, Ole Miss beat Vanderbilt. Hurrah, hurrah. A&M beat South Carolina. Wasn't as dominant, right? The second quarter looked about how I thought this game was going to go in its entirety. South Carolina jumped them in the first quarter, was able to score, get up 7-0. Then it was just a berry festival. The second quarter, A&M wins at 21-0, tied in the third 3-3, and then the fourth quarter is 7-6. This under hit. Had it at 53.5, went down to 52.5. It kept going down, got all the way down, I think, to 51. This was my 51. Lock of the week, best bet of the week, and it was able to hit. Max Johnson, early in this game, I mean, God almighty, Max, get rid of the ball. Like, how long are you going to hold the ball in the pocket? I know guys weren't just running wide open, and not every sack was his fault, but goodness gracious, dude, for a quarter and a half, I mean, Max Johnson was out there reading the Harry Potter book in the pocket. It took him so long. He ended up going 20-30, had 250 and a touchdown. Mari Daniels had 70 on the ground on 13 carries and a touchdown. Anais Smith did his thing. Just A&M just still doesn't look right to me.
It's mid.
Like, it just doesn't. Why does everything look so damn hard for them? Like, and a lot of it is offensively, obviously. That defense got aliens running around. I thought South Carolina actually ran the ball better. The Mario Anderson kid had 72 yards on 16 carries. They ran the ball better, at least with him. Now, they ended up with minus 42 yards in sack yardage with Spencer Rattler, so they're only giving up 33 yards rushing. But I thought South Carolina was able to kind of get to him a little bit in the run game more than what I thought. A&M was the better team. They're now at 5-3, 3-2 in the conference. But David, like it just doesn't look clean. It doesn't look
No.
pure.
It doesn't, but I'll tell you what, when it looks like that week after week, you'll take a win any way you can get it, especially they're at home in College Station. So again, they just need to try and stack these wins where they can. And on the South Carolina front, we talk a lot about the offensive line just is not up to par, right? I think they've started a different offensive line combination in every football game so far this season. But you have to be able to offset that in other ways, right? Like Shane Beamer ball, like be elite on special teams at least. They're really not right now. Be elite by not making a lot of penalties. They had 8 yesterday for 46 yards. I mean, they lost the penalty battle. They lost the turnover battle. They lost the possession battle. They had fewer first downs. Like at some point, you have to be able to win one of these other categories if you're going to be able to pull off SEC football wins.
Yeah. Blaine?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So you got to give Spencer Rattler a lot of credit of who this guy's becoming, right? He is growing this week in, week out, and I think he's going to end up being a pretty damn good NFL quarterback. And South Carolina right now, I don't know if I've seen a team with this many injuries.
It's brutal. And it's brutal during the game,
potato, too. It's a triage tent. Guys are falling every other play. I mean, Leggett got banged up. Your offensive line is just – it's done. You have defensive guys falling every other play. And whatever tree that freshman they have outside playing receiver is going to be a damn good football player. But right now, if you're South Carolina, you're banged up, your roster's not that great, and you have an NFL quarterback. So you can get better in other places, but I think it's going to be a while before you're better at that quarterback position, and I think that's going to hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at A&M, the rest of your schedule, now you go to Ole Miss next week. You got Mississippi State at home, should win that one. Abilene Christian at home should win that one. And then at LSU, and depending on what LSU does, obviously here in these next couple weeks, that could be a game that carries a ton of significance. Like I said, they're sitting at 5-3 right now, looking right probably like 7-5.
7-5 to me.
7-5, so somewhere around there. And again, we'll see with the way it's working over there at A&M. All right, let's get to the chat real quick, Blaine. I want to run through the ACC.
All right, let's go to Keith Lott. What's up, Keith? He says, how many years and games do the Big Ten get to lose in the playoffs before they're labeled as overrated? Can panel answer that question?
If we're going to say, I have sat here and said that I think the Big Ten is very top heavy. I think we've all sat here and said that in the past. I mean, I think one of the best examples of why not having divisions and conferences is a great thing. One of the many reasons, in my opinion, you can see that in the Big Ten, just of how dominant the Big Ten East is over the Big Ten West. But, I will say, David, outside of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State,
subpar conference. I mean, you're talking about being top heavy.
Really tickling your fancy, not just this year, David, but going last 5 to 7 years. I mean, who are you really scared to get in an alley with and throw hands outside of those teams?
Look, especially from the Big Ten West side. Like, that's what we keep saying. Like, is someone going to emerge from the Big Ten West and really, decide to play an elite level of football? Because I think at least the Buckeyes and Michigan have, and you look at Penn State a year ago, 11-2, something like that. Now, that's all going to go away now that divisions are gone, and you're going to add USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. So the college football landscape and that conference specifically is going to look a lot different. But yeah, extremely top heavy one. The rest of the conference has just left something to be desired. But to his point that he wrote in there, even if you're top heavy, you would expect those top heavy teams, the teams at the top, to win some college football playoff games. Now, at least the Buckeyes have one national championship under Urban Meyer during this college football playoff system to show for it. But yeah, I mean, look, and let's see what happens. I still think Michigan's one of those football teams in the country this season that can go win a college football playoff, maybe even a national championship. But the more and more we look at it, I mean, look, the SEC has just set themselves apart. And when you find yourself up against them late in the season with a whole month of prep during December against Kirby Smart or Nick Saban or, these programs like LSU, they're just tough to beat.
I was going to woo Pig Bolt 22, #AskCranico. Says, who's done better, Matt Rhule or Deion? Giving Travis Elrod credit. Good question, Travi.
again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? Nebraska, while they haven't been nearly what they want to be, what the standard has been in the past in Nebraska, which feels like 100 years now. I mean, Colorado won one game last year. So I think even though they're two new coaches, those are two different circumstances, right? You look at the amount of players that Colorado brought in through the transfer portal, which is not just about bringing, great players, and you have to have great players. It's about bringing in great players that can play together, that you can create cohesiveness with, because it's the ultimate team sport. That's what was the most impressive thing, I thought, about Colorado and early in this year. Now, I will say, I thought Nebraska it got all the way down to -1. I took this as a show bet at -1.5. I thought this was one of the best bets on the board the whole weekend. Purdue's just not there yet. Ryan Walters is feeling his way out as a head coach. Nebraska, I think Tony White has done such a good job of game planning as Nebraska's defensive coordinator. I mean, you look at the multitude of offenses they played early in the year. The defense kept them in it all the way from Minnesota to Colorado, that big of a spectrum. And so knowing how limited Purdue is, and then how limited Purdue is defensively, I thought that big white monster they got at quarterback, Hartung or Hardingmeister or whatever his name is, was going to have Burgermeister was going to have a big day on the ground. And Nebraska kind of leaned on them. Then that home field advantage. Then you had the blocked field goal for a touchdown that was huge. So I think they're both doing a really good job. I'm just still going to say Prime right now because Colorado was so bad.
Have to. And they played each other this year, and Deion Sanders won.
That's true. So. That's true. I'm a head-to-head guy.
All right, let's go to Steve's Action Figure Frenzy. What's up, Stevie? He says Ohio State is battle-tested more so in most years, and that may help them against Michigan, but probably not enough. My hopes for Ohio State winning in the Big House is slim to none.
Well, again, I love it's such a high-class problem to be able to say, oh, well, C.J. Stroud's gone. We're replacing all this, but we should still have a chance to go win at Michigan when Michigan returns everybody. It's a rivalry game. I thought Wisconsin. I thought that game against Wisconsin went about how I thought it was going to go. Wasn't pretty, wasn't sexy. Ohio State was able to score enough. They kind of team balled them. And that's what you have to do on the road. And look, Luke Fickell and Longo, they're going to get right. Mordecai's hurt, even though he wasn't really doing that much when his hand was healthy. I think Ohio State is a very quality football team. I do not put Ohio State right now in the same category as Michigan, and they've got to go to Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. I don't put them in the same category right now, even even with Georgia. As crazy as that may sound to some, and you saw what Ohio State did last year against Georgia in the college football playoff. I would put Florida State above Ohio State right now. I really believe that, and some people will push back on that, and I think there's a logical argument to make it out of both sides. But I tell you what, after watching the way Penn State played again this week against Indiana, I'm less and less sold on this. Ohio State's really better than Michigan. Ohio State's really the best team in the country. Let's put them number one when the college football playoff rankings come out this Tuesday. But
I don't think Kyle McCord's good enough. I don't think he is. I think he's going to cost them in big games. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is an absolute freak. I think Stover at tight end's an absolute freak.
Well, I don't think it's that he's going to cost them. They've already played in big games, and he hasn't costed them. The question is, can he do enough? Can he do what CJ did last year to be able to keep him in a game like that against Georgia? Can they not have to rely on the quarterback absolutely freaking out like that to be able to win against Michigan? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm talking here about elite teams. Kyle McCord is going to cost Ohio State against Michigan. Kyle McCord would cost Ohio State against Georgia. Kyle McCord would cost Ohio State against Florida State.
Well, the two biggest things for Buckeye fans that get you excited right now, one, on the defensive side of the football, they're playing at an elite level, and that defense is going to keep them in games. And it really is showing you that the Jim Knowles pick was the right one when he came over from Oklahoma State. Some people had questions at the end of last season with some of the decisions he was making with a lot of this man coverage, cover zero type stuff. But that defense, he was clearly the right guy for that. One of the best DCs in the country. And then, like we just talked about, the run game late last night with Travion Henderson getting healthy, that's going to be one of Kyle McCord's best friends down the stretch of the season, especially in the Big Ten, in the Midwest, as the weather starts to turn. You have to be able to run the ball, which the Buckeyes have always been able to do ever since I've been watching them play. And I think they're going to continue for the next 3 or 4 weeks here running the football well.
You know who this team reminds me of, who this Ohio State team reminds me of, David? They remind me of the Michigan team from 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yep. A little bit.
That's who they remind me of, right?
A little bit. Cade McNamara at quarterback.
Trying to protect the quarterback a little bit. Don't
Hassan
want to do too
Haskins.
much with him. A lead on defense. Let's just bully ball people. That's what it kind of seems like to me. That in that same flavor. But we're gonna get back to the chat. Remember, if you donate, we will read that. It'll get read at the end too if it's not on topic of what we're talking about right now. But ACC, want to cruise through this one. Florida State destroyed Wake Forest. Wake Forest, I mean, you had 5 sacks, gave up 5 sacks. Half of it had to do with the quarterback, Mitch Griffiths, holding on the ball too long. They could never get the slow mesh going. But Jordan Travis, man, I'm telling you right now, me and Blaine watched this whole game yesterday. This dude just continued. It's amazing when you see quarterbacks take the step of scrambling with their eyes down the field. When they're scrambling to throw and then run, we see it with Jaden Daniels. You see it with these older quarterbacks because it does 2 things. One, it turns defensively into a scramble drill. Everybody's got to go, glue to your man. Guys get open, running overs, converting it to a vertical down the field or just even on the short. And the second thing it does, it takes hits off the quarterback. If I'm able to release the ball and now I'm throwing it and not having to run every single time I move outside of the pocket, or if I want to shoot up through the pocket, it takes that hit off of me as a quarterback. So just watching him operate with Keon Coleman, with Benson, this Florida State team, man, they're a complete football team. I know the ACC isn't super dominant, but the more I watch this Florida State team, the more ways I find out they can win. I just like this ball club.
Feels like a college football playoff team, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Feels like they're going to make it.
One of my locks of the week was Florida State -20. I actually also took the over in this game, which hit. I mean, look, you got to remember, Florida State's doing this without Johnny Wilson. Right now, one of their best pieces. And one thing I got to give a lot of credit to, Mike Norvell is absolute witchery when it comes to play calling, man. His pulse on a play calling during a game, and I think is one of the best, if not the best, in college football. I'm telling you, like Jordan Travis, like he needs to get talked about more. He's not getting talked about enough. The kid's is absolutely elite. I mean, he's breaking records after records in the ACC. The only thing that worries me about Florida State is their defense when it comes to the run game.
Yeah, well, we'll see though. I mean, we know they have the cats to do it. It's just, can you consistently put a good product out there and stop the run? All right, Pittsburgh got destroyed by Notre Dame. I should have put the rent on this. I don't know why I didn't put everything I owned on it. I went 4-2 or 5-1 with my picks. Should have went 6-0 and picked this game. But Pitt, like I said, Narduzzi and them are absolutely falling off a cliff. It's going to be nice to revisit the Pitt prediction after all the hell I took after picking Pitt to go 3-9. That was interesting. North Carolina, guys. How about Georgia Tech, right? And we love Jeff Collins, one of our favorite people. But Brent Key, good God, bro, have a year. That's a hell of a 4-4 and 3-2 in the SEC for Georgia, or ACC for Georgia Tech and what they took over. North Carolina, you come out the first quarter, you scissor kick them, go up 14-0. Then you drop a 14 piece in the second quarter. The only problem is you give up 24 points. Then go to halftime. Hey, it's 28-24, doing what we want offensively. Come out in the third quarter. You shut out Georgia Tech. You take the lead. Now you're sitting there up 35-24. Then you give up a 22 piece in the fourth quarter. You gave up a 24 piece in the second, a 22 piece with nuggies and Cajun fries in the fourth. I mean, good. This North Carolina team looking a whole hell of a lot more like that North Carolina team last year on defense in the second quarter.
Yeah, it is. And when you look at Georgia Tech's schedule here, they go on the road to Virginia. They go on the road to Clemson. They have Syracuse, and then obviously they'll end the game at home against Georgia. Guys, I think we're talking about a bowl eligible Georgia Tech team here, and maybe even more than that, which is an incredible thing to be talking about.
Yeah, if I'm Drake May, let's play a game of how quick can I get the hell out of here. Catch the damn ball, guys. We can't catch. The North Carolina receivers just let me down in this game. Hell, and you still racked up 42. Sooner or later, we got to talk about Mac. We love you. So glad you're here. But, buddy, we would love for you to just go sit in the stands and watch the game. We'll put you in a box or bring you some food. You can have whatever you want. Sooner or later, you got to move on. All right? You got to move on. He's a great career, one of the best coaches, but it's time. It's for Breeze Brothers. It's time to get awfully fresh in here.
Jeff Levy, maybe? Jeff Levy? Paging Jeff Levy?
Is Jeff Levy a head coach, though?
I think Levy be a damn good head coach.
It just got coordinator written all over to me. I think Lebby wants it. You don't think Lebby could have got a head coaching job by now?
Well, just because you can do something, it's got to be the right fit. I mean, you see guys that wait around and shoot. You built up enough equity. I'd wait around and I'd rather
go
make
get.
the right
If I'm North
pick.
Carolina, I'm going to get that old boy from Arizona as quick as possible.
Jed
Jed
Fish.
Fish.
Yeah,
As quick as possible.
Boston College takes care of UConn in a game. I almost took the under in this one, decided not to. But look, Jeff Hafley, I did say earlier in the year that Boston College over 5.5 regular season wins was free money. Now they go to Syracuse, they get Virginia Tech at home, they go to Pitt, and they get Miami at home. Can they win one of those? And this is having lost to Northern Illinois, all right, in week 1 at home and barely beating Holy Cross. I need one more win. Now they've gotten 4 in a row. They beat Virginia, at Army, at Georgia Tech by 15. That win's looking a lot better. And then Connecticut, which I know everybody's not, super excited about. It is Connecticut.
Yay, Boston College.
Yeah, but I want to hit that over.
You did it, guys.
Yeah, congrats, guys. Then obviously NC State beats Clemson. I mean, David, Clemson, mid.
Yeah.
Dabo's doing this on purpose, David.
No, there's no way. Stop it. It was inappropriate to say maybe we should start losing some games, but it's not a good look when you start losing some games after saying it. The thing for the last couple of years is he set the bar so high at a program that I didn't think Clemson could be a multinational championship winning program in the Nick Saban Alabama era. And he won 2 national championships, set the bar so high that when all he did was win 10 games and go 10-2, we said, oh, the dynasty's crumbling. Well, now it's worse than that, right? And you're sitting at 500. I still think Dabo Swinney is going to get the program right, get back to that elite level of football. But you got to sort of change with the times. I don't know if he's going to start to adapt the transfer portal a little more or what their NIL situation is at Clemson, but you got to do some new things.
It's either adapt or die. That's what it is. That's why
That's life.
One of the best.
That's existence.
Like, dog, you got to go to the portal. You got to pay kids. Like, I'm like, this holier art thou vibe you want to get off, running down the hill. Surprised though you don't fall every second week you do it. Like, you're going to have to pay kids. You're going to have to go to the transfer portal or you're going to win 7 games. That's what you're going to do.
It just reminds me of that the old person, your grandparent, just sitting on the porch in the rocking chair. And, every time you walk by and be like, oh, I remember back in my days when you could go down and for a nickel, you could get an RC cola, an ice cream, and a map of the city. Well, guess what, dog? This isn't 1951 anymore. It's come on.
You walk into his house.
Why are you still riding around in the car? You got to operate with your feet like the Flintstones.
Yeah.
There's Teslas over here. There's cars
that
park themselves.
You walk in your buddy's house and he has a 16-year-old dog. It's like, oh, look, he looks great.
I like Dabo Swinney, man. I like Dabo. I like his vibe. I'd like to play for him. I'd like my kids to play for him.
Dabo Swinney, but bro, come on. We got to move on with the times here. Why are you? It just reminds me on Billy Madison. You know who Dabo Swinney is? It's in Billy Madison when he has to go back to high school. You remember? And he pulls up in the Thunderbird and the old leather jacket that used to be cool when he was in high school.
I see it. I can see that.
That's Dabo. He's pulling up, listening to some AC/DC and just thinking he's a badass. Come on, man. Dude, put the leather jacket away. Only the goths wear that now. You gotta move along with the times. We gotta figure this out. But all right, speaking about figuring it out, let's head over here to the Pac-12 and fellas. Oregon handled absolute business. I do want to give us credit for this one. We'll do the where we were right, where we were wrong segment tomorrow, but I do got to give all of us credit for calling this one. A lot of people were super duper hot on Utah, and I get it. Right, Kyle Whittingham pulling up in the Harley, cool dad, right? That all the girls in the high school still thinks cute, and he's on the guy from on the Just for Men gel commercials. They've struggled at quarterback without Cam Rising, but Oregon just came in, handled business, looked like a team that realized they couldn't lose another one. And I'll continue to say it. I know they lost at Washington, but Oregon will play Washington again, and they will beat them in the Pac-12 championship. And I will have my revenge, Washington Hype Video member makers. Ha 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 ha!
Man, the laugh before we're weeks away from that, and already the evil laugh.
Oh, don't let that happen.
Look, I said play this game up to double digits for Oregon. I couldn't or there's a better team. I mean, Utah, it's cool Harley, cool atmosphere. That's great. Sooner or later, you got to kick the ball off. All right. Kyle Whittingham ate on that field. Oregon, from a balance standpoint, it was never going to work. 6.5.
I didn't like the number, actually.
I loved it. Daddy was in
Utah
love
at
with
home.
the number.
Yeah, you were.
Play it up. People don't doubt how good Bo Nix is. A damn good football player.
Man,
now.
He really is.
They got NFL kids run like as good as their offensive line was last year. They still have monsters up front. You got Bucky running the ball. Bo, you got Franklin outside, who I thought didn't have his best game. But look, you got to realize if you're a Utah fan, how many times Cam Rising saved your offense. Like Cam Rising is the type of guy with the moment's never too big. When you need a big play, Cam makes those big plays. The kid you have right now, even if he's a captain of the offense, it's not good enough to run with Oregon in and out for a 4-quarter football game. And that showed on the scoreboard.
Complete team. Oregon's a complete team. I will say this. For Utah to win this game, it needed to be somewhat low scoring and kind of a grinded out type of game. It wasn't like that from the start. Bryson Barnes had to play clean. He threw 2 picks. He ended up going, 15 to 29 for 136 yards and 2 interceptions. It wasn't going to work that way. Your leading rusher had 39 yards on 9 carries. You ended up with less than 100 yards rushing. That's not the recipe for this Utah team with this quarterback situation to be able to win. Oregon just went in there and just outbalanced them, man. I mean, 150 on the ground, 250 through the air, 5 touchdowns combined. Didn't give Utah a chance to get back in it either. Kind of got there. I mean, you were up 21-3 at halftime. Then you jump them in the third quarter with 14. You're up 35-3 or 35-6, and then you just moonwalk them out the door. So this Oregon team had to mark this one off the list. You went to Utah. You went to Washington. You split it 1-1. You're still in it. Going back to why not having divisions is fantastic. This is another reason as we get down to the stretch.
What did Dan say in his presser? Did he say something in his press conference?
I didn't see anything. Nothing that in the
Kevin,
chat.
Did you see anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay, they're saying stuff in the chat about gun control.
Gun control.
Yeah, I got to go watch.
I didn't see what he said about that.
Put it in the chat. Tell me what he said in the chat.
But
I didn't see it. But I like Oregon to win out here, and keep in mind that their last 4 remaining is Washington's last 4 remaining games are a lot more difficult than Oregon. So Washington they go on the road to USC, they get Utah at home, they go on the road to Oregon State, and then they get Washington State at home. That's the last 4 remaining games for Washington. And then on the Oregon side of things, Oregon's gonna get Cal at home, Southern Cal at home, on the road to Arizona State, and then Oregon State at home.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Oregon State, they lose at Arizona. Arizona's really, really put it together. I mean, you watch what they did against Washington State. Now they beat a good Oregon State team on the road, a number 11 ranked Oregon State team that came into their place. Oregon State drops to 6-2. They're 3-2 in the Pac-12. Arizona 5-3, got the same record as Oregon State does in the Pac-12. And Jed Fish, man, continues to do it. They continue to find ways to win. This Arizona team, it's starting to become one of the best stories in college football. And when we look at the Pac-12 and say, all right, well, the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football this year, one of the reasons is the depth in it. I mean, you look at Arizona beating Oregon State, for example. You look at Stanford, should have beat Washington. If you were watching the end of that game, there was a drop pass that really cost them. Arizona State beats Washington State at home. Washington State, Coach Dicker and them kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. Cal only loses to USC by 1. I knew I should have put everything I ever made on the over. And then I will say this, guys. Colorado, UCLA, a little bit of a lower scoring game than what I thought we were going to get.
I took the under.
Yeah, I love it. Not that UCLA, we know they've been really, really good on defense, but I did feel like Colorado may be able to put up 24 or more points, and then we know how anemic Colorado's been on defense. But UCLA does win it 28-16. Wasn't beautiful, but they got the job done. In the Colorado kind of miracle story, they're 4-4, guys. I mean, this is if you would have asked any Colorado fan, I'm sure they would have taken 4-4 to this point. But I mean, Garbers, he was the guy for UCLA after we saw, Dante Moore get taken out. I mean, Garbers goes 20-27, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But man, I mean, at the end of the day, UCLA 6-2. This is just it's a weird way to see a Chip Kelly team win, David, but they're winning.
They are winning, and that over-under was 61. I jumped on the under there. I felt good about that, and that hit. Then on the Arizona side of things with the win over Oregon State, look, this is it's an interesting stat line here for Arizona. Fewer first downs. They had fewer total yards, more turnovers, more penalties, fewer yards on the ground, and somehow found a way to win a game 27-24. And that was one of my dog picks of the week. Yeah, what Jed Fish is doing. Plus, this team being at home was another thing. You know, that home field advantage out there is real. And here they sit, Arizona 5-3.
Impressive, man. Blaine, I want to get to the chat before we bust through the Big 12.
All right, let's get some donations here. Let's go to Coffee Guy with the $2 donations. Well, you know, we're about to hit that. It's an OU question, so I'll save that to where we get into it. Let's go to Luke D with a $2 donation. What's up, Luke? He says, you guys are the best in the biz. Tell me something I don't know. Who wins the Pac-12 and the ACC?
I'm sticking with the ones that I picked before the year. Give me Oregon to win the Pac, and I'm talking about winning the championship game now, just like you do on the bets and the sports book. It's who wins the conference championship game. So give me Oregon to win the Pac-12 conference championship. Give me Florida State, right? Give me Florida State to win the ACC championship. I know that's not crazy to say now, but no, I'm going to dance with the ones that brought me. And Luke, appreciate that, bro.
All right, let's go to Keith Lott with a $5 donation. Keith, if you're going to put a donation, make sure you put a comment on there, brother. I will look and see if I can go find it. Let's go to Willie Jack Black with a $20 donation. Appreciate it, Willie. He wants to know, do you guys have some Crane Company coffee mug on the merch store?
We need to do that. Look, we need to get the trucker hat. We need to get the coffee mug. We got the candles right now. We've got obviously the shirts. If you haven't bought any Crane Company merch, it really helps us out a lot. We can put the link to it in here. If you got it, throw it in the chat. We'll throw it in the chat and in the description. We got some new stuff coming, including possibly a hoodie. I don't know. Maybe there's just rumors that are being screamed from the from the underground. So we need to get the coffee mug for sure.
All right, let's go to T-Jar with another donation, $5. He says, "Oh my God, we are 7-1 if we're 8-0 if we take a knee. God, I hate everything. Blaine, give me your My Chemical Romance CD and get out of my room. God, it hurts. Each win, it just hurts worse and worse."
Yeah, but I will say this. I think it is a unbelievable sign of how much you want to talk about being able to take a hit. Like, not that you want to, especially when it's a self-inflicted wound, but you literally blew the game, right? You blew the game by not taking a knee. You're getting bombarded by the media, as well you should, right? You have players questioning, hey, can we really trust this coaching staff? Then you go play your guts out and lose at North Carolina. It could have all fallen off a cliff. It could have all fallen off a cliff very, very quickly. But you find a way. You rally the troops. I think it shows you the amount of respect that the players have for Mario Cristobal and that coaching staff, and really how tight that group is to be able to come back from it. And now, all of a sudden, you wake up this Sunday morning. If you're a Canes fan, you're like, all right, we have a couple tough losses, right? It's on us for not taking the knee against Georgia Tech. It was a hard-fought game against North Carolina. But now, North Carolina's got 2 losses in the conference, right? Now, Duke's got 2 losses in the conference. Now, outside of a couple teams, you're really still in the hunt. The stuff you needed to have happen has happened to a certain extent. So it's always glass half full, right? There's a little bit of silver lining everywhere, but it's a lot more feasible, and it's got to be the air's got to be a little bit sweeter this morning if you're a Canes fan.
All right, who's in more trouble, Sam Pittman or Dana Holgorsen?
I think Sam Pittman.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sam Pittman. This is year 4. Sam's been in the SEC, and you're struggling. I'll continue to say you're struggling in a way that goes against the identity of the head coach. You know, it'd be different if all Arkansas could do was run the ball, and they were just tough as hell up front, and they just couldn't throw it. You know, it was like an Iowa situation where it's like, oh man, they just can't throw it. I'd be like, all right, offensive line guru is head coach. You know, they're tough. It's just not going to work. It needs to be more innovative. That's not why Arkansas is losing. Arkansas is getting pushed around up front. on the offensive line. I think the defense has hung in there. I mean, you lost to Mississippi State 7-3, but you've had more time to implement your culture. It's not your first year in a new conference with new players. Not that Dana's not in trouble. I've continued to say that I think Holgorsen will be replaced by Jeff Traylor within the next 2 to 3 years. And I'll keep saying that. I know UTSA hasn't been the belle of the ball this year like they were last year, but it's got to be Sam Pittman. I think he's toast. If they don't, I mean, God, you lost to Mississippi State. I see one, maybe 2 more winnable games on that schedule. You get Auburn at home, and then you have FIU, I think.
They got Arkansas goes to Florida. They get Auburn at home, FIU at home, Missouri at home.
It's over.
Bad. It's bad, and it's the way you're losing.
Yeah.
I just didn't see that one coming.
All right, let's go to Keith. I'm going to count this as your donation, Keith. He says, Oregon is good, Washington is better, but how many of those players see NFL caliber players on defense every week at all 3 stages? There's no way a 1-loss Pac-12 gets in over a 1-loss SEC.
Man, over a 1-loss SEC, I don't think we're going to be making the distinction between a 1-loss SEC team and a 1-loss Pac-12 team. I don't think it's going to come down to that. I think what it'd come down to is if LSU runs the table, beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, now they're sitting there 11-2 with wins at Alabama, presumably a win over Georgia, and one of your losses to Florida State. I think that argument's fascinating. But I will say this about the Pac. I think the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football still.
Unless he's talking about a 1-loss non-conference champ in the SEC, like if LSU,
Alabama would beat Georgia in the SEC championship,
or to Jake's point, if a 2-loss LSU team went and won the SEC over an undefeated Georgia team, which then gives them 1 loss, that's a worst case scenario for the playoff committee.
Yeah, I agree with that. But no, does the Pac-12 have as many NFL players, I think, in it as the SEC? No, but that doesn't necessarily. It's not just easy to thread that needle and say, okay, well, since this conference doesn't have as many NFL players in it, per capita, then it cannot be better than this conference. I think the Pac-12 has more experience.
How can that possibly be a metric for making the college football playoff?
We're talking about the college football playoff. I think I'm talking about which conference is the best, because he said,
but that's what he's talking about. That's how it was presented. I mean, having the most NFL players get drafted can't possibly be a metric for deciding who gets to go to play in the college football playoff. No.
That metric to me is a hindsight metric. That metric to me is, all right, we're now having a debate. Let's say this year's over. Right. We're now having the debate of which conference was the best conference in college football last year. I think one of the metrics you can look at is say, all right, well, Conference A did have this many players drafted in the first 3 rounds. Conference B didn't. But as far as making the college football playoff, no, that can't be. That's not a metric they use. I mean, it's a team sport. It's which team's better. There's teams that we've seen that had a bunch of really talented freshmen and sophomores that ended up playing the NFL get beat by a team that just had more experience than they did. Like, I guarantee you that Michigan team that lost to TCU last year will have more NFL players play more snaps. Or that Michigan team that lost to TCU will have more players that play NFL snaps than that TCU team does.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they should have gone on to play in the championship because they played on the field and lost.
That's exactly right.
I just think as the more this season goes, I think the SEC is just becoming the best conference in football.
Like 2 weeks ago, you were saying the SEC is trash and that they're one of the worst conferences in football. I mean, we've seen them play in the non-conference earlier in the season.
I've never called the SEC trash in football. Those words have never came out of my mouth.
We're singing a very different tune here just a couple weeks later with not that much bigger of a sample size. Is what I'm saying.
It's hard for me to sit here and say, man, this is the part that I have trouble with. How can I? It's hard to sit here and now compare conferences when all they're doing is playing each other.
Exactly.
Now's that we can sit here and say, all right, well, Georgia looks a lot better. Well, yeah, Georgia looks a lot better than we thought without Brock Bowers, but they're playing against a team in the SEC, so it's kind of like counterintuitive, right? I at some point we get to the end of the year, teams change, right? Teams develop. I'm not saying that, but I'm going to judge you and your conference based off how you did in the non-conference, whether that be at the beginning of the season and then how you do in the non-conference at the end of the
Which
season.
is far more important. I mean, we were sitting here watching Texas beat Alabama in the non-conference, Miami beat Texas A&M, BYU beat Arkansas, FSU beat LSU, and saying, man, the SEC is just really down this year. And then in the last few weeks, all we've seen are conference games. And now we're talking about, oh, well, the SEC is the best conference again. We haven't even gotten to the most important part, which is the end of the season. If the SEC produces the national championship winning team again, no one's going to care that Texas A&M went on the road to Miami and lost, or that Florida State beat LSU at the beginning of the year. None of that's going to matter because the SEC is still going to crown the champion, which is all that's going to matter.
I find it a fascinating conversation. I really do. But I don't think measuring it against each other, playing the in-conference games, can sit here and now separate yourself from where it was before and or after, right? It can give us kind of a better idea, but I just think that's impossible to do. But a lot of people thought it was going to be impossible for Oklahoma to lose the game until they at least played Texas in the Big 12 championship. But boys, Lance Leipold does it again. The man does it. The Kansas, they are a Texas and Oklahoma killer. They end up winning the game with Josh Bean. Blaine, we watched this one in its entirety yesterday. You had that delay, that lightning delay in the first half. Then you felt like Oklahoma kind of grabbed the game a little bit. They dropped 21 points in the second quarter. They were up at halftime, only 21-17. That late score by Kansas, I think, gave them some momentum. And then, I mean, Kansas beat them in the third quarter 9-6, beat them in the fourth quarter 12-6. Wasn't high scoring or as high scoring. I mean, it just shows you how crazy Vegas is. I think the over-under ended up at 70 on this one. It ended up being a 38-33 win. Blaine, I want to start with you. We said that UCF scared Oklahoma. Not that Oklahoma wasn't ready to play the game, but some of those games you just have to survive. Well, it obviously didn't scare their ass enough because Kansas, yesterday, you go watch that game. I thought Kansas was the better team.
Yeah, and I think they did this without Daniels too. I mean, their go-to. First of all, Bean is flying. I mean, he can absolutely just.
I've watched him do this for 3 years.
He is running, buddy.
Yeah, I've watched him do this for 3 years.
But my big takeaway is that this looked like old Oklahoma defenses. This is what it looked like. Your front seven was not getting a push. You can't tackle. You can't tackle in space, miscommunication all over the field. Now, look, I know it's tough. It's a tough place to go play at Kansas, and it's a tough offensive scheme to scheme against. But this looked like old Oklahoma, and it was surprising to me. You go back to the UCF game; they weren't tackling well, and that kind of showed. I think Oklahoma really got up for that Texas game, which I'm not surprised. But this week in, week out stuff and not being able to tackle, not lining up in the right gaps, DBs not talking to each other, it's going to hurt you. And you finally played against a team you knew how to capitalize on that. And Dylan Gabriel throwing that first half pick six did not help. It's a bad. Dylan does this from now and then in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's a hitch, long side of the field. The ball came out late. As a quarterback, that is the recipe for disaster. And that's something tough to come back from. And they did. I mean, 3 straight touchdowns in the second quarter. Trust me, I had a -6.5 in the first half. Just an absolute killing of a spread not to hit. But it feels like when the defense, you need this defense to get a stop for Oklahoma, they can't do it.
Yeah, that pick six was certainly uncharacteristic for Dylan Gabriel, but you would like to think that this Oklahoma team, that Dylan Gabriel is at least allowed one mistake like that throughout the course of a game and throughout the course of a season, and they could still win this game handily. But Kansas rushing for 225 with what Jason Bean has been able to do in some of these games. I think we have to say that Kansas has a top 5 quarterback room in the country. I mean, if Jalen Daniels is playing in this game and Kansas is at home, this is not your grandfather's Kansas football team anymore. Like, this would not have been as surprising of a win, but with your backup quarterback, I thought Oklahoma could at least go in there and handle business. And they really can't use the weather delay as an excuse because Kansas jumped out to an early start. It was them who sort of had the momentum broken up by the weather delay that we saw with the rain. So, down the stretch of this game, outscored in the fourth quarter, outscored in the third quarter, you just can't do that and give up 225 yards of rushing on the ground if you're Oklahoma.
Well, I mean, what do we say? If Kansas's recipe to be able to win this game was if Daniels isn't playing, you got to somehow protect Bean. I mean, you did throw it 32 times. I mean, Jason was 15-32. We had 218 and 2 touchdowns, but it was on the ground, and you got explosive plays all throughout the game offensively. Most of them came on the ground, right? Devin Neal, he had 3 or 4 explosive runs. Jason Bean had 2 explosive runs, including a 38-yarder. He finished with 62 yards rushing and a touchdown. Hell, Daniel Hishaw Jr. had 12 carries, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns with a long of 12. They're able to pop some big explosives in the receiving game when they needed it, including that 4th down that he was able to keep the play alive that ended up setting up the game-winning touchdown, even though, they let Kansas score. It gave Oklahoma a chance. Here's my thing with Oklahoma, guys, and this is what I'll continue to say. I picked Texas to win the conference. I picked Texas to go undefeated, having beat Oklahoma, beating Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout, and they didn't do it. I still wonder, can this Texas team, if Quinn Ewers isn't healthy enough to really beat Quinn Ewers, find a way to beat an Oklahoma team that's now going to be pissed off? Because if they weren't scared of surviving before, that they are now after this loss. They now have to thread the needle. But again, it's times like this when I look at Kansas line up and bully Oklahoma, like, is this just part of the learning curve for Brent Venables as well as he goes along as a head coach? So I think the Big 12 fascinating, but I like Texas even more now.
Yeah, and you add in a couple other things. Oklahoma 2 for 10 on 3rd down, plus the 3 turnovers, had 2 fumbles on top of the pick six.
It, David.
And then
they
11 penalties. 11 penalties for 101 yards. All those things add up, and you're on the road. All those things add up to, like, it's hard to win a football game like that. I don't care who you're playing.
And this is what you got left. I mean, you got Oklahoma State next week. All right. Then you have West Virginia at home. It's going to be a game. They got BYU and TCU at home.
Wow. Those are your last 4?
Yeah,
that's a tough 4.
Yeah, it is. I still think Oklahoma's going to win them. I still think Oklahoma goes.
Let me get to a couple of these donations because these were Oklahoma topic donations. Let's go to Coffee Guy with the $2 donation. How much of the OU loss is Levy's fault?
Well, I mean, look, you did have the pick 6. You can't put that on the defense, obviously. The 3rd down and short play calling was where I thought it was questionable. That's what I mean. Me and Blaine kept looking at each other. We're like, all right, it's 2nd and 2. I understand you maybe want to run play action. 2nd and 1's a great time to run play action, take shots, but you're throwing it on 3rd and 2. Like, you're throwing it on 3rd and 3. Kansas is lining up and running it down your throat and having success. Yet you're Oklahoma. You do have a good run game, but you can't line up and run it down Kansas's throat on 3rd and 2. I would say that's a team loss. I think it's a team loss for Oklahoma. And Kansas, tried to give it away to him. I mean, you fumbled a kickoff return early in the second half, I believe it was, and Oklahoma was able to punch it in. But Blaine, the 3rd down play calling, the 3rd down and short.
Do you think that was just RPO and Dylan was just getting a read to where he needs to pass it?
I think some of them, but why even? Here's the thing, though. Why even put yourself in that situation? Why? I mean, there's RPOs. I mean, just call zone read.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Dylan,
you have no pass detachment off of. People used to give Bryce Young hell about that all the time too. Under Bill O'Brien. Oh, why you keep pulling the ball and throwing it? Why you keep pulling the ball and throwing it? Well, you're giving me the opportunity to pull the ball and throw it. So if I feel like I need to pull the ball and throw it, then I will. It's in like a Cade Klubnik situation where you're like, no, I'm just going to keep it.
Well, I kind of go, look, players make plays when they need to get made. You go to that last drive at Kansas, being through it right to an Oklahoma defender, right between the numbers.
Got to catch it.
And you got to catch it. Look, if you want to be a great team, you have to make the plays. That's why Georgia's so good. I know they're front 7, they're deep, but when a play needs to get made, our Michigan, when a play needs to get made by a guy, you can bet your ass they're going to make that play.
Well,
twice doesn't have those guys.
Once before half, Oklahoma had a big play, then just needed to stop Kansas to keep momentum going. They let Kansas drive all the way down and kick a field goal. Then at the end of the game, it's the same thing. At some point, man, you got to stand up.
All right, let's go to Christopher R. $5 donation. Appreciate it, Chris. He says, tell Matt Walsh I said, hey. We'll give him a shout. He says, will my Sooners lose again? They should have won yesterday. Needed 1 first down. Did they get exposed?
No, I don't think they got exposed. I think Oklahoma lost the game on the road against a good Kansas team. I want to make sure we give Kansas enough credit too. Now, this wasn't Oklahoma didn't go in there and just not know their knees from their ass and not be able to figure out how to play. I mean, Kansas won that game. Kansas lined up, and when they had to get physical with a quarterback that can't throw the ball nearly as well as the other one can. Not that Jason can't throw it at all, but he's not exactly Dan Marino in the pocket. They went out and took it from him. I want to make sure we give Coach Leipold credit, but I think it's going to be Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12 championship. That's what I think.
Be surprised either. Let's go to David S. $5 donation. Oh, David, I know you're hurting this weekend, bud. After Florida scored the first touchdown, I tweeted, "Stop the count." Should have listened to me.
I know they should have. Catch a few hanging chads down there in Florida. But I do want to say we'll get back to the donuts. Texas beats BYU to sleep. Knew it. Yeah. Just lined up and smushed them.
I thought Malik Murphy threw the ball well too. I thought Malik looked good in the pocket, man.
Mm-hmm.
He looked really good, calm. He was ready to go.
But at the end of the day, did he look good enough? I mean, I know when Quinn comes back, he's going to play, but does he look good enough to be the starting quarterback going to the SEC when Arch Manning's on the sideline? That's the question.
I mean, yeah, I know one place he can come right now.
Yeah, I know.
I'll come pick you up.
Yeah, we'll Enterprise Rent-A-Car this thing. We'll both pick you up. Kansas State destroyed Houston. Speaking about Dana Holgorsen, Big Earn McCracken. Kansas State just rolling ball of butcher knives, man. They know who they are.
That one surprised me a little bit too.
Yeah, well, coming off the emotional game against Texas, I was wondering how Houston was going to respond. But Houston now 3-5, 1-4 in their inaugural year in the Big 12. Kansas State 6-2, 4-1 in the Big 12. If Oklahoma does fall, Kansas State just going to sneak right back in that Big 12 championship game again. And speaking about sneaky, Iowa State 5-3, 4-1 in the Big 12.
Very sneaky.
Beat Baylor at home. Dave Aranda, it's not as smooth anymore. And then, boys, Oklahoma State is an offensive juggernaut. Yes, you heard that right. The same defunct quarterback carousel, heaping, flaming garbage dumpster fire of an offense that we saw starting out the year is now they turn to the Globetrotters. Mike Gundy's over 40. He's a man with a plan.
He is a man.
And Ollie Gordon is just panicking in the best way. They destroy Cincinnati, who's now 0-5 in the Big 12. Shout out Scott Satterfield. And Oklahoma State 6-2, boys. We keep talking about Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, Iowa State 4-1. Oklahoma State 4-1 in the Big 12. It's getting weird here. UCF now 0-5 in the Big 12. Not a great time to be a new.
But if you're Oklahoma State and you give up 277 yards of rushing to Cincinnati and you still have 40 plus more rushing yards with 315, 271 on the ground for Ollie Gordon.
Just crack the code.
Is that 500? Hold on. That's 500. That's like 550 yards of rushing for him the last 2 weeks.
Man, I got to see these Big 12 standings real quick. I got to see how this one's landing. So you got.
I'm looking. Yeah, I got it right here.
So you got Oklahoma's 4-1, Iowa State's 4-1, Oklahoma State's 4-1, Texas, Kansas State, all 4-1. It is an absolute log jam. Then you've got Kansas 3-2. That's a pretty damn good 3-2. West Virginia's 3-2. Boys, it's about to get. What do we got coming down the pipe?
If you got Iowa State's got Kansas this upcoming weekend.
Where's that game?
Yeah, next weekend. Then you go to BYU. Then you have Texas at home, and then you go to Kansas State.
So we got boys. On my birthday, November 2nd, right? Jake's turning 24. Got TCU at Texas Tech. Then listen to this slate next week in the Big 12. Kansas State at Texas. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Houston at Baylor, cool. UCF at Cincinnati, cool. BYU at West Virginia, cool. Kansas at Iowa State. Big 12, boy, it's going to be fun down the stretch. This one's going to be fun.
1,000 yards rushing so far this season. I think half of that's in the past 2 weeks. 10 TDs,
exactly.
Another 200 receiving through the ground.
It's
through the air, sorry. Yeah.
It's a good situation. All right, I want to make sure we get to the Big Ten quickly here. We're going to get back to the chat and then hit these NFL games really quick. I know we could sit on here and talk about this all day, but some people have church. Ohio State beat Wisconsin. Wasn't pretty, wasn't sexy. Kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Ohio State, it seemed like it was pretty redundant. 3 in the first, and they scored a touchdown in the second, third, and the fourth quarter. They end up beating Wisconsin 24-10, who Look, I know Tanner Mordecai's hurt, but Wisconsin's kind of let me down a little bit, guys. I thought Luke Fickell would come out swinging a little bit more with what they had with Braylon Allen coming back. But Penn State, Blaine, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you take this one, Blaine, because I know you.
Look, I called him fraudulent a couple of weeks ago. Look, I'll say this right now. Their offense, James Franklin gets a controller, right, and he just goes click the short pass option
every time.
Every time. In the second half, you took some shots. Drew Allen just closed his eyes and threw.
You had to, Blaine, or you were gonna lose.
It's at some point. All right, at some point, you got to throw the ball past 5 yards. All right, you're not going to be able to nickel and dime your way. And you saw that against Ohio State. Ohio State's good. I don't think they're great. Drew Aller's not there yet. Your defense is making uncommon mistakes you don't see out of a Penn State defense. You kind of got bullied up front a little bit by Indiana. And it just blows my mind just to sit here and after watching that you can believe in Penn State at all. They're an okay football team. Drew Aller's going to be a good player, but he's not there yet. He still panics in the pocket. He doesn't go through his progressions well. He'll throw a swing with a guy right in front of him. And you know what? It hurt me. It hurt me to watch Indiana lose this game because I thought Indiana played their ass off for Penn State didn't cover a guy.
No,
didn't even cover a guy.
Like what Oklahoma didn't sleepwalk against Kansas, right? Watch this whole game. This was a sleepwalk. Was 100% a sleepwalk. I hope people realize the Indiana, at one point, I think it was halfway through the third quarter, the quarterback had 3 completions. One was for like 80 yards and a touchdown. The other one was for like 75 yards and a touchdown, where both times, the first time they got mixed up in the middle of a play and ended up busting a coverage with a guy with 2 guys running verticals, which I think Indiana actually screwed up. I think this was a screw up all the way around. It was kind of a crazy play. The second one, David, I don't know if you saw this. They just didn't cover. Maryland, I think Maryland came out. I think they were it was either 12 or 21 personnel. Anyway, they had 1 wide receiver out wide, flexed out. Penn State just didn't cover him. Like the quarterback from Indiana could not believe it. Like he snapped the ball.
It was a corner blitz.
Like the water boy. He like looked at the ball and then looked.
The corner came.
Yeah. It was a corner. Yeah.
Wasn't covering the receiver and just tossing the ball. And nobody just ran 80 yards for a touchdown.
You want to talk about how good Michigan is?
Yeah, look, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying about Penn State right now. I mean, last week we saw their defense, or when they played the Buckeyes, we saw that defense really gave them a chance to win the football game, and it just left something to be desired on offense, which really to us shouldn't be surprising, right? You're starting a young kid at quarterback in one of the toughest divisions in college football. I know Penn State fans thought that he would come on stronger and just be elite right out of the gate. But either way, you still are sitting here 7-1. You get Michigan at home and you beat an Indiana team by 9 points. Now, in contrast to that, Arkansas is not a good football team either. Arkansas has the same record as Indiana. They go on the road and play Alabama to 3 points. And our reaction to Alabama isn't as strong as this. We don't say, Alabama, this is an awful football team because you only beat a bad Arkansas team by 3. So while Indiana's not good, and maybe Penn State is fraudulent, maybe they drop multiple games down the stretch here to the back half of this Big Ten schedule. Like a lot of these football games are just close, right? I mean, we just saw North Carolina losing to Virginia. You know, we see this throughout the season. Sometimes any given week in game planning, a team can just come up and beat you.
Yeah, but I think it's how it happens, right? You know, I don't think it was game planning that helped Penn State not cover Indiana's receiver that they threw it to, and he ran 80 yards for a touchdown. I think we watched that Arkansas-Alabama game, and you watched the way Alabama dominated that first half, right? You know, Alabama's up, 21-3 at half, something like that, had dominated, took their foot off the gas. KJ Jefferson made a couple plays with guys hanging off of them, and Alabama really played bad in the second half. I'll be the first one to say it. I watched this whole Indiana's not a good football team, not a good football team. I'm not saying Arkansas is either, but I think if Indiana did play Arkansas on a neutral site, I think Arkansas would probably be a double-digit favorite in that game. But it's the way Indiana lined up the whole game, I thought, and was able to play with Penn State at their own game. Like Penn State is truly 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I think they've protected Aller too much. I think he's a kid that you didn't let outside until he was 12 years old. Then you wonder why he's so socially awkward and doesn't get a girlfriend until he's 26. Well, you never let him outside. So like, how do you expect him to have any sort of chemistry down the field? It was ugly for Penn State. Watching Penn State try and push the ball down the field is like seeing your mother on a Tinder dating app when you're swiping left and right. It just feels weird and it shouldn't happen. Just so I think a lot of it is how the game goes. And watching that, Indiana punked Penn State up front. I watched Indiana, and Blaine, you sat there with me. I want to give Indiana credit. I think Tom Allen, it's unfortunate he's going to get fired after this year, especially when he had Penix Jr. and it was rolling and stuff like that. But Blaine, like Indiana was literally punching Penn State in the face.
You beat them up front.
And then Penn State tried to take shots in the second half, and finally they connected toward the end of the game. But David, like it just
still beat Indiana by more points than Louisville did. That's what I'm saying. Like Penn State and Louisville are both one-loss teams. I mean, Louisville beat Indiana 21-14. Remember with the OSU game, the Buckeyes were up on Indiana 10-3 at halftime. Like this Indiana team has proven that they can punch above their weight, like when it counts most. And then you go play Rutgers and you lose 31-14. So look, I don't get it. I don't think Tom Allen's going to be at Indiana
look, I'm not
too
sleeping
long.
on Rutgers.
Yeah,
but it was more as much as Penn State got gassed up during that Ohio State week. Just the public. Every show I would watch, it's Penn State this, Penn State that, and I don't know where they got it from. Like, cool, you beat Iowa. You beat Iowa's ass. Congrats. I was terrible on offense. Great defense. You look great on offense in that game. I just don't know where the gas came up from the public. Even the people we had on was Penn State this, Penn State that. Penn State's proven nothing. They've proven nothing at all. You're going to find out. I mean, you got Maryland this week. You just lost to Northwestern. I don't know how healthy they are. But I tell you what, even this game being at Penn State, Michigan, whatever the spread is, we're rolling with Michigan. 100% hands down. It's going to be a double-digit spread on the road. On the road. I
think you're right.
The way that everyone gaffed Penn State up, I don't know why I couldn't see it.
Under. I'm definitely taking the under in that Michigan Penn State game, whatever it is. I do want to say this, though. I don't know if there's a team out there that benefits more in perpetuity and having both of these, the expanded playoffs to 12 and no more divisions in the conference. I don't know if there's another team that benefits more than Penn State in that situation, right? Because you could say, well, maybe Auburn, but Georgia's in the East. Right? Penn State's dealing with Michigan and Ohio State. They're both in the same division within the same conference. You could say Tennessee, obviously it helps out. It helps out a bunch of schools, but I don't know if in like tandem, if it helps out a school more than Penn State with these two changes. But we did mention Minnesota won a cripple fight with Michigan State, 27-12. And then Nebraska, 5-3, boys. Matt Rhule, come on. I know it's not pretty. I thought it was the best bet on the board. Now they go to Michigan State. Winnable game, right? You got at Michigan State next, then Maryland at home, at Wisconsin, then Iowa at home. Boys, can Nebraska get to 8? Can Nebraska get to 8 with Matt Rhule in year 1? Don't let that happen.
I had him 6-6 before the season started.
I mean, you're coming off. You've won 3 straight. I know at Illinois.
Pull up the
Northwestern, which, by the way, shout out Northwestern, beating Maryland.
Big win. Someone turn the lights on.
So please, somebody turn the lights on.
I think 7 and 5 is more likely.
Yeah,
for Nebraska.
Yeah.
And
we'll take it.
Yeah,
Colorado. Who knows? Who the hell knows?
Take it.
All right, Blaine. Let's get to the chat. Is there any that I missed, fellas? Any that I missed? I feel like we went through each conference.
No, I don't think so. Do you want to go ahead and get to it's 9:58? Let's go ahead and get some NFL games, and I'll get to the chat after we hit those.
Perfect. All right, I got it pulled up right here. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Check us out. We go live each weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central. That's 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. If you can't catch it live, stays on YouTube, Scranton Company, obviously, and then Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you hear your podcast. Eagles at the command. God, I hate betting the NFL. I just hate it. I hate it. Commanders are hosting the Eagles. The Commanders are 7-point underdogs at home. The over-under is 43. Blaine, you leaning anywhere?
God, it's so hard to trust the Eagles to cover. but I think they covered in this football game. I really do. I think they come out and just it's going to be close. I think second half depth wise, just the Eagles are so good up front. Their front seven. I think they'll force the Redskins to make a couple of mistakes. So I'd probably run with the Eagles and the over here. David,
remember they kept this game close when they went on the road to the Eagles, but I still like Philly in this game.
Yeah, Patriots at the Dolphins. Dolphins 8-point favorite. Over under is 46.5. I just don't know how I don't take the Dolphins.
Murder. It's going to be like look, Pats. You just came off a big win against the Bills. I'm sure Jake appreciates that.
Why do you got to bring that up, man?
But I just don't see right now.
Sunday,
I have to look out and see how healthy Jalen Waddle is. He got banged up in their last game. He did come back for the second half and play. But right now, man, I just like the Dolphins. The offense is too good. I don't think there's a guy on that team that's going to be able to guard Tyreek Hill. Tua is looking great. I think Mostert's getting back healthy, which is what you need. And the Patriots just aren't the team this year. They're not. I mean, you can run with Mac Jones as long as you want to. All right, but it's not going to get you over the hump this week.
Same.
Love it.
They're different in sunny South Florida.
Yes, a little different down there.
Rams at the Cowboys. Cowboys 6.5-point favorite at home. Over unders 45.5. God, do I over? Why am I liking the over in this game?
What's it at?
45.5.
I've been disappointed with the Rams the last few weeks. They don't seem to have a lot of depth, and they can't really run the football despite all the weapons they have on the outside. I'll probably take the Cowboys in this game, even though a full touchdown seems like a lot.
Is Kyron Williams back? That's the question I'd have to find out. He got banged up a couple of weeks ago. They're running the ball extremely well when he was there. Kid out of Notre Dame, man. He was all I really like this kid, but I like the Rams in this game. Cooper Kupp coming back, getting healthy. Aaron Donald still out there. Puka Nacua. Is an absolute problem.
Win or the Rams to cover?
The Rams to win, money line. And I just like rooting on the Cowboys' downfall, so I'm gonna keep doing that.
All right, Jaguars at the Steelers. Steelers 2.5-point underdogs at home. The over under is 40.5. I know the Steelers are really good on defense, but 40.5, man. I feel like there's gonna be some points scored in this game.
Jags, baby. Come on, Corey. Big one for us this week. All right. Got to take it home. Pittsburgh, kind of a little bit of a hot football team right now.
Yeah, they are.
Pickett, small hands, fake slide. I mean, we'll see. Burger King commercial. George Pickens is an absolute monster, but the long hair, all right, strutting around, blowing in the wind, all right. The kid, last week, a lot of questions with the knee. What did he do? He ran for 12 yards on the second play. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Give me Christian Kirk, the A&M native. Zay Jones still out for these fellas at the Jaguars. You got to remember that. He's a big red zone piece. But I'm trusting Trevor Lawrence over Kenny Pickett.
Man, two very impressive wins for the Steelers after that just beat down 30-6 against the Texans. They follow that up with beating the Ravens and going on the road and beating the Rams. They're at home today, but I'm going to ride with your team, Blaine.
Let's go, Dave.
Jacksonville.
Falcons at the Titans. Basically, I'm playing quarterback for the Titans today. They're a 2.5-point underdog. The over-under is at a very, very obese, actually more like anorexic 35.
Yeah. Just who would have thought Desmond Ridder would be the best quarterback in this game? Shovel face. Who would have thought?
He is.
Who would have thought? Is Malik Willis or Will Levis playing?
I think they're both going to play.
Who cares? Doesn't matter. Give me the Falcons.
Falcons are different on the road, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Drake London, you won't score the first touchdown.
Speaking of new quarterbacks, Texans at the Panthers. Little CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. Panthers 3.5-point underdog at home. Over unders 43. Buy that down to 2.5. Houston.
Give me the Panthers.
They're on the road. They're on the road against the Panthers. Did the Panthers get their first win here?
Panthers money line.
Really? Panthers no way.
I'm gonna Adam feeling it. Come on.
They're gonna beat someone. They're not just going to lose every single game.
3.5 though. I like the Panthers plus 3.5, not to win though. This just feels like a Texans Miami Fairbairn walk off a field goal.
Okay, I could see that. I want Bryce to get him one. Panthers suck.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. All right, Jets at the Giants. The Gigantes, 3-point underdogs at home. Over under is also 35.
Give me the Jets. Give me Zach Wilson in the game.
Daniel Jones is not back, right?
No, I don't believe so.
So the Giants have a chance, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Don't do that to Daniel Jones.
Look, I'm in a sticky situation here. I have the Jets defense and Saquon Barkley both starting on my fantasy, so I need a little give and take, if you know what I mean. Give me the Giants at home.
I don't think that's a bad pick.
Give me the Giants.
I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I think I may take the Giants money line in this one.
It might be 6-3.
I mean, Zach Wilson went apple picking with his during vacation. I need you locked up in the facility figuring it out.
I'm not going to talk crap about guys who hook up with moms. I'm just not going to do it. Zach, I hope you have a lustrous career. I hope you do great. If I ever see you around my house, Playboy, I'm just saying it's on site.
Yeah. Vikings at the Packers. Packers 1-point underdogs at home. Over-unders 41.5. Do we like this over?
What's it at?
41.5.
I like. Oh God, how much can Green Bay score? That's the question. I think Kirky's going to have a day. It's before bedtime. It's 12 o'clock.
Well, he's been having days.
Yeah,
He's
got
no more
khakis on. Knees are out. Just got done with a nice sermon. So give me Kirky and the boys. I still don't believe in Jordan Love.
One thing on the Jets and Giants game, don't they both play at MetLife?
Yeah,
I believe so.
But technically,
I don't care about technically about who wears what jersey. Aren't they both at home?
I mean, yeah, I believe so. That's such a weird deal.
I'm looking on the schedule. All right, and it says at
fans are going to cheer a little louder.
Wait. I don't think they play at the same place.
Chat.
Do they not?
No.
Chat.
No.
Do the Jets and Giants both play at MetLife Stadium?
Justine Turley, one is considered home. I think they both play at the same place.
Why did I think one was
MetLife Stadium, located in East Rutherford, New Jersey, is the home of the New York Jets and the New York Football Giants. Oh, they had to throw that in there.
Had to do that, yeah. All right, Saints at the Colts. How are the Saints a favorite in anything? The Saints are a 2-point favorite. Over-unders 43.5. I rode with the Colts to cover last week. Why would I not take them again this week?
And they did.
I mean, a couple of interesting things here. I don't know if you're kind of keeping up with it. Chris Olave got in trouble.
Reckless driving.
Right now, Michael Thomas has an illness, so he's questionable. Michael, get out there and play. All right, I need you to get out there and play. You're my only option. It's really hard not to pick the Colts in this game after what you saw with Derek Carr getting pissed about throwing that ball out of bounds 30 yards at Chris Olave.
Yeah.
I can't wait to
go
watch
up in the
Derek
third
Carr
row
check
and
it down.
make that catch.
I can't wait to watch Derek Carr check it down to Alvin Kamara 30 times. But this Colts team's coming along. Miles Garrett's not out there. I like the Colts in this game.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew.
Yes. Browns at the Seahawks. Seahawks are 4-point favorites. Over-under is 37.5. Miles Garrett is going to be out there in this one, bud.
Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks, man. Is Deshaun Watson going to play football ever again, or he got paid so he's good? He got paid.
He just didn't even look right when he comes out there.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I'm so tired of hearing about it.
Look at the Browns paying a quarterback way too much money. Who would have thought?
Yep. All right, Chiefs at Broncos. Broncos 7-point underdogs at home. Over-unders 46. Chiefs.
Yeah.
That feels like one of those ones that the Broncos play better than they're supposed to for a while and keep it close, and then the Chiefs just take care of business late.
Yeah. Over 46 here.
I mean, yeah, I like the over in this game. I think the Chiefs. I think it's close, but sooner or later, Russell Wilson's going to find a way to mess it up. Give me Patty, give me Travie. I don't want to hear anything about Taylor Swift. If I see Taylor Swift more than 3 times on my TV, I'm going to smash my TV in the living room.
Oh, don't do that.
Get ready to break it then.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
That's 100% getting broken.
Even if she's not there, they're going to show at least more than 3 replays of the previous game playing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mr. Pfizer, huh, Travie? That's who you are now, dude.
2 things at once?
Sell out, buddy. I like Rob Gronkowski so much more than you.
Bengals at the Niners. Niners 4-point favorites at home. We know Brock Purdy's been in concussion protocol.
Cleared
to play.
Is this the back-to-back losses for the 49ers? Is this one of those ones where it's like
Williams is going to be out there either?
Is this one of those ones where Joey B just kind of freaks out?
Reemergence?
Look, if Joey B likes these kind of games, man. He likes these type of moments. Wind in the hair in the wind. I mean, Joey Shiesty, Joey franchise. Let's play a game of how many times can I throw it to Jamar Chase?
I'll take Bengals plus 4 points for sure.
Okay. All right.
Bengals.
Ravens at the Cardinals. Cardinals 9.5-point underdogs at home. Over-unders 45. The Ravens looked so good last week, which means the Cardinals will definitely cover.
Plus
Look,
10, man,
it's
that's
hard
a
to
lot.
pick. It's hard to pick against a guy whose parents are in the Men in Black. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, first, let's give Dobbs. Dobbs has been out here playing his ass off.
Yeah, he has.
Like playing his ass
Yes, he
off,
has, man.
I mean, he's just playing hard. He's moving chairs with his mind.
Tennessee Vol, baby.
I mean, come on, dude. Yeah, but give me Ravens cover.
All right. Bears at the Chargers.
This one's interesting, man.
This is interesting. Your boy David's favorite. Kevin.
How are the Chargers? How are the Chargers minus 9.5? Like, what have y'all done to deserve to be? I don't care who you're playing.
Well, they still think that the kid.
Dave, have you watched the Bears play?
Yeah, I have. And you know what? You know what? And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse after you lose 4 straight, I take the Commanders to obliterate you. And what happens? You beat them 40-20 on the road because that's the NFL. They know your moves beforehand, and they've scripted the season perfectly.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what I'm saying here is, oh man, Bears on the road at the Chargers, 9.5 points. What? All of a sudden they win by 2, and Justin Fields freaks out, or whoever plays quarterback. Is Justin Fields even back?
It's the dude lead singer from Rage Against the Machine.
Is it the Division II kid again?
Yeah, the one we saw.
Now I really like the Bears.
Yeah, I like the kid, dude. I play him with nothing to lose. His dad's like an
Chargers teams
champion.
make me so mad. This Chargers team.
Yeah.
Like, how are y'all not? How are you 2-4?
Yeah.
I know. It's the most talented 2-4 team ever.
You could make the case. But all right, speaking about talented, our chat's always talented. Let's get to that.
All right, let me get to these donations. Let's go to Genome with the $5 donation. Jake.
Yes.
I need a speech for my Sooners. Threw it all away yesterday in Lawrence. Needed a first down to win it, and Jeff Levy couldn't give it. How let y'all not give up 40 points? I'm just ragging on Levy.
I want to be able. Hey, tomorrow, make sure you send a message. I want to do it be able to do it with the music.
Yeah, it makes it better.
It
makes it Oakley Tiger, $2 donation. Says just cancel the rest of Pitt season.
Hey, listen, and again, y'all know me. I'm going to tell you when I'm wrong. I'm going to tell you when I'm right.
Oh, we know.
Some of them hit. Some of them hit just different. Pitt struggling after just I didn't even realize there were that many Pitt fans that could be that full of hate. And then I start remembering like the West Virginia Pittsburgh rivalry and like the backyard brawl and all that. And Pitt fans really came for my head. Y'all really came for my head. But what y'all didn't realize is there was a moat out in front of the castle, and you got chomped up. It happens sometimes.
Hey, one thing on that Chiefs-Broncos game, when you were talking about taking the over, the reports with the weather out there is like it's below freezing or something. It's going to be just really nasty weather. Maybe the under.
I said Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I said Joe Montana. Under.
Huh?
Don't you think both these teams are used to it, though?
Playing below freezing?
Well, playing when it's snowing. I mean, they're used to it. It gets cold in Denver a lot.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to quit. I'm just saying maybe the under.
Like this is a trick. This is what they want you to think. Snowing, it's bad weather. Take the under, right? Next thing you know, I watched Kansas City score 24 points in the first half. Like,
next thing you know, it's a Southern Cal game.
Yeah, I swear. It's a bait. It's a trap. All right, let's go to Keith Lott, $5 donation. Appreciate it, Keith. Great show, guys. First time seeing the show. Unfortunately, I have to drive now, but great show. We'll be back. Have a great day.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, we go live each weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. You can catch us there, but it lives on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that stuff. This is your first time checking us out. We have a good time. We talk everything. The live calls are hilarious too during the week. Sometimes they get a little out of control, but that's just part of it. But what else we got, B?
Let's go to John Williams. Said, should I play the Chargers defense versus Chicago or the 49ers defense versus Cincinnati? How's this a question, John? The Chargers defense. You play the Chargers defense.
Yeah. Play the Chargers D.
You never want to play against a team with Joey B.
Did they ever say what Dan Lanning said?
Something about like they didn't really. They said it was like a 2-page basic speech about gun control and what needs to happen.
Oh.
I mean, Dan, how about we kick it?
The shotgun?
Dan, how about you not take the most extreme option every time on 4th down?
Can't go for it on 4th down and then every time. And then
I'm going to write
You
know what? I'm going to write a 2-page paper on shotgun control and about how you shouldn't line up in it on 4th and inches.
Like, dude, like what? Again, Blaine's exactly right. Doug, you can't go for every fourth. You can't go for it every time on 4th down and not kick the field goal and then come talk to me about control. Like that's not how that works. So don't. Yeah. Hey, you need to make sure and be measured and not take the most drastic, crazy option. Oh, it's 4th and 1 from our own 26. Yeah, we'll go for it. Doesn't matter.
All right, let's go to the Ethan Sim. He's been in here screaming. He says Lafayette College is undefeated against FCS teams this year. Only loss to an FBS team is Duke. Just beat Georgetown easy while down. Our running back 1, LB1. Watch out in the FCS. Love the FCS love going.
Hey, love it. Lafayette, baby. Hey, I wonder how excited Lafayette fans are now that like Louisiana Lafayette changed their name. They want to go by Louisiana now. So like now they're kind of like the only Lafayette. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just the things I think about.
All right, Steve Ogburn says bad weather in Denver. Take the under for the Swifties. Get out, Steve.
Steve, I'm with you. I'm going to take the under now. I'm going to do it. I don't care what Blaine says.
No, listen to me. I'm telling you. All right, that's I think that's all the donations. That's all the questions there. Chat, great day today, huh?
Yep. Great job, everybody. Make sure any parting thoughts, guys, before we move on with Sunday.
No, y'all have a great Sunday.
Yes.
Should I throw one of these first touchdown parlays in here?
Do it.
All right, quickly. I'm gonna give you one. All right, I'm gonna give you one. I made 3, but I can't give away all the secret sauce. All right, this is one I'm excited about. Tyreek Hill first touchdown. Mark Andrews first touchdown. Travis Kelce first touchdown. You can put 50 on it. You can put 20 on it. I put 100 on it. That's to win $34K. And my other 2 are to win $120,000. I don't even give a shit. We're here. The other one's Dallas Goedert, Najee Harris, Puka Nacua, $100 to win $126K. And the last one, A.J. Brown, Christian Kirk, Drake London, $100 to win $123K. Can we change someone's life today?
That'd be huge. We'll see. Hey, make sure you catch us live in the morning. Going to be recapping everything, where we were right, where we were wrong, taking your live calls, talking everything. We got college basketball right around the corner too. Make sure you check out all our sponsors. Let me give you a hint. The promo code is going to be Booster probably. But again, we will see you guys live in the morning. If we can't catch you live, we'll catch you throughout the day. We really appreciate y'all. Best audience out there.
Yeah.
And like what Blaine?
US out. Should I start Waller or Laporta? Start Laporta.
Laporta. Yes, Laporta. Definitely, without a doubt. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch y'all live in the morning. Enjoy your Sunday.